Hello, my name is Kristie McKinley. I'm a Reiki master teacher and a soul care consultant, and I love supporting heart centered spiritual conscious leaders create a life they love and break from old unsupportive beliefs that no longer support them. And I I'm really grateful to be talking about authenticity today because I have struggled with being authentic for a very, 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 very long time. Can't stress enough how I struggled with that. And what prompted me to talk about it today versus earlier this week when I had the idea to start thinking about this was the Facebook memory popped up about how I had shared about helping a young woman with her audition for a creative writing program and about the fears that come up when you are going into something new, about how the brain keeps you safe and its job is to keep you safe in ways that you can, counteract that fear, especially with something new. And for me, a part of being authentic is listening to my higher self and listening and noticing those signs, which I can't think of a much more in your face sign than the Facebook memory talking about being afraid and working through that fear. So initially, when I started the thinking about how I was going to do the video for this on authenticity, it kind of came out of a series of videos that I've since uploaded to my YouTube channel about the A's of self-care. And initially it was 5, and then it worked its way up to 6, and then I came up with authenticity. And in the beginning it was kind of like, I kind of saw it as steps. It kind of made sense to kind of do one thing and another, and in to a greater degree there's steps. Like the first is always awareness. You don't know if you're lost if you're not aware that you're lost, and in that awareness you have the power to make a change, or you can choose to stay as you are. There's empowerment in being aware. Then there come the steps like accountability, alignment, that sort of thing. And then initially I thought it once I revisited it, I thought it meant like action, and it still does, but authenticity is always something to kind of always revisit just every once in a while. And in this case, it's 3 years later since the Facebook memory popped up about revisiting your authenticity. And then for a lot of us, revisiting our authenticity as we come out of one of the worst pandemics that 99% of us have experienced ever in our entire lives. My hope for you is that during the pause you had moments where you had an opportunity to look within yourself to see what was working for you, what wasn't working for you, and figure out a next step on how to make a change. And I know for a lot of us, sometimes that was not a possibility. I know 2 months before the quarantine, my mom passed away, and that was a whole lot of newness that my brain had to deal with. And I'm still kind of dealing with it, but I have the support that I need now that I've had those moments to take a pause, look and see where I needed support, and then I went in that direction of that support. Um, Back before, even before doing the video that kind of prompted and spurred on this video, that was the same year, 9 months later, that my father passed away. It was a whole new set of newness that my brain had to deal with. But even before that, as I was younger, when I was a younger child, I had lots of ideas and inspirations to do all sorts of different things. And because I was coming at life differently than other people were coming at life, there was lots of times a huge disconnect. And a lot of times, just because of my need to want to belong, I conformed so that I could be accepted. And that is a habit that, depending on the age and when it begins, can be very ingrained. And then trying to pull away from that, even when you feel a disconnect, just feels just like, ugh, because those old triggers of I don't want to be rejected, I don't want to be kicked out of the group or the tribe. And then, that kind of taps into our primal sense of, well, when we get kicked out of the tribe, we die because we have to fend for ourselves. And lots of times there's lots of strengths that we either innately don't possess or naturally don't possess. That's all. I just feel motivated to do a whole video about that. But then there's lots of times when we are drawn to others just because they balance out the strengths that we just aren't there with yet. Oftentimes, I'll phrase it like that. And so disorient. Saying that it's disorienting is an understatement of the century, but it still kind of comes back to when we don't feel supported in our authenticity. It's and we don't have the support system or have someone who is there for our highest and best good to say, hey, I want you to feel good, feel what's good for you and what speaks to your highest spirit and what helps you out. It can be confusing. It's just, oh my gosh. So it's about being true to you, and when you find something that really lights you up and helps you feel called to move forward in that direction, go in that direction. And when you start to like applying those ideas and concepts, and if you're a clear channel of the spirit, having hear what spirit has to say to you, and it feels loving and supportive, even if it feels a little bit scary, try it. Because short of you actually coming in contact with an wild animal, what is the worst that could happen? That it not turn out to be the way, turn out to be the right thing? Well, at least you're aware. So that gives you an option to choose something else. Always take deep belly breaths. I found, if nothing else, take deep belly breaths, because it's calming. It's literally calming. When you're breathing into your belly, you're telling your brain that it's okay to relax, that it's okay, that you don't have to put up, guards and defenses. That's why breath work is so important. And if you're feeling a weirdness around breath work, sing. Recite a poem that you like, or read something out loud, or scream. I'm a big fan of screaming. I don't do it often, but when I feel that singing's just not doing it, screaming's totally fine. Oh, side note, alert the people that if you're living with someone, let them know that you're going to do that. And give yourself just the time to pause and check in with yourself. Ask yourself, where is this danger coming from? Give yourself time. Give your brain a chance to give you a question. Oftentimes it's a memory, oftentimes childhood memories, or even if you weren't a child when the memory's coming up, it was just it was a situation where you were just feeling especially vulnerable. You were speaking into your authenticity, and the person or the persons who, they may have meant a lot to you personally or professionally. It could have been a mentor or a loved one, and their reaction to that was just their reaction. And you may know them deeply and understand the story as to why the reaction was, or you may not. But again, it's their reaction. And if you have time to talk to them about it, just just as an opportunity to talk about it. Another thing that kind of, when I was taking the notes from watching the other video, it was just about, speaking to when I speak to someone, as I come from a place of as I'm speaking to myself, because I want to speak to myself in a discerning way, in a way that's honest and sincere and authentic. Because when you're authentic, you don't have to expend as much energy. And I've discovered, being perfect is not required. When I thought that I completely failed this young woman that I was help get into this program, I thought I'd done more things wrong than I did right, and she still got into the program. She got into 2 programs. And so I was very much not doing it perfectly, but just simply showing up, being authentic, being honest, and being sincere with her, I was able to be my full self, and I was able to share my gifts and be of value, which is like my soul's purpose. So if you need support around being authentic, you can go to my website, and if I'd highlighted the right one, that would have been awesome. Give me just a sec. But if you're really kind of struggling with being authentic, just feeling kind of lost on how to get where to get started, book a session with me, because I will hold a safe space for you. I will be discerning and be honest and authentic and sincere, and I will talk to you the way I talk to myself, with kindness, because I don't know, not being kind is kind of out of fashion, I think. I think being in quarantine for over a year, I've learned that it's, I've learned so many things. I've learned to definitely be kind with myself and patient with myself, and learn to listen to spirit and notice and follow the signs that are in front of me all the time. And that only happened when I became fully authentic with myself, so that I understood what lit me up, what made me happy, what called to me and spoke to my spirit. So if you are down with any of that and you struggle with that and you need some support, I would love to work with you. When you go to the link, just don't stress out, but feel where, just go to where you feel called. And if you're still drawing a blank and maybe you think that you might need to check in with a mental health professional or a medical professional, talk to your worship leader, follow that. Honor what's coming up for you. Honor what's coming up for you, and don't book a session with me because you feel bad not booking a session. I want you to honor your truth and which direction. One next step. That's all you have to do. One next step to follow your own journey into living a life you love. You get to choose. You get to create. And I'm just here to help you just clear all this stuff on the way on that path in that direction. That's my job. That's my superpower. So I love you. You are doing the absolute best you can with where you are, and knowing myself as you're doing the best you can with where you are, and when you know better, you do better. Love you. Take care.